wedding was absolute chaos, so my husband and I bailed at the reception.
Just
Boom.
get out of there if you don't like your own wedding.
Yeah, exactly. It's your wedding. You could choose to leave if you want to.
Exactly.
Just to give a quick warning, my marriage is coming to a close. Mutual agreement and a different story.
Ooh, that seems pretty relevant to this story.
Right?
She's like, my marriage is over, but let me tell you about my wedding.
Let me tell you about how it started.
Mm-hmm.
But I will forever hold some resentment over how my wedding went. By the way, this comes from Deleted on the r/OK storytime subreddit. Also, this may be long. Sorry, not sorry. All fake names are used. I, at the time 21 female, went from dating to engaged, then married in 1 year to my husband, Will called John, at the time 21 male. Okay. It felt right for us to marry quickly as we knew each other since we were 12. Our engagement and wedding already started some controversy in my family. The venue. My mother decided to book our wedding to take place inside a military chapel when John and I did not want to get married in a church. He had childhood trauma in a church, and I grew up in a cult-like church. Wow. John and I found a beautiful venue in the mountains of Alabama where my father was stationed in the army that we were willing to travel to. My mother never mentioned that she was booking the chapel, nor asked if John and I ever had a place in mind. And now the dress. Back when I was a senior in high school, I tried on a vintage Gunny Sacks dress that I found in a boutique. When I found that it fit me perfectly, I purchased it for $40. It was a beautiful ivory color with a tiny colorful flowers pattern. However, I have always wanted to wear my mother's Jessica McClintock wedding dress. It wasn't floor length, but the lace detail is beautiful. I asked my mother for her dress instead, as it was actually my size. My mother was practically in tears that I wanted to wear it. I took the dress to my pastor's wife, who was a seamstress, to see if she could help me make slight adjustments to my mother's dress. I wanted the shoulder pads removed, as it's a texture that I can't handle. We were able to remove the pads and come up with a plan to make the dress work with minimal changes, until my pastor's wife looked at the back panel of lace. The dress had a rust stain. Saddened, I handed the dress back to my mom and pulled out my $40 dress. And the bridal party. That seems like every single part of this story is just not going how she wants it to.
Not lucky at all.
So the bridal party. John and I never had a bachelorette or bachelor party, as he and I never had many friends. We lived fairly quiet lives and wanted it to stay that way. I wanted only 3 women to be with me. Neither of them were the maid of honor. I refused to pick a favorite. One of my bridesmaids was a coworker of a coffee shop. She bailed on me the day of my wedding. Oh, man.
Ooh, whoa. You
Dang.
can't bail on a wedding day.
Yeah.
That's illegal.
How long were they working together? Is this just a coworker that you don't talk to outside of work? Or is this a real friend coworker? You know what I mean? So bridesmaid number 2 was also unable to come as she was getting married herself. I and 2 of my friends got married within months of each other. Unintentional, we just grew up military and knew time was never on our side. Bridesmaid number 3 was a childhood friend who we will call Sally. Sally had always been the center of attention. Whenever we all were together, if our conversations didn't revolve around her or we didn't do what she wanted, she would always find a way to make you feel guilty. She ended our friendship at least twice because I refused to support her love interests. There was this weird vibe that she should have been married first in our friend group. Oh, that's annoying.
Oh,
so she's bitter about that.
Yeah, she's like, it was my thing.
Right.
I was going to be first.
It's like, boo-hoo. I don't know what to tell ya. Day of the wedding, I asked my brother's, at the time girlfriend, to step in as a bridesmaid to make the number even, to which she happily accepted. Oh, wonderful. 2 days before the wedding, I had quit both of my jobs for this wedding and move across 4 state lines. Dang. 2 days before the wedding, John and I were driving back to Alabama as I flew to my current state to help get our new house set up. I had started moving his belongings into our new house. I found some items in the bottom of his closet that were from his ex.
It depends on what the items are. Because
yeah.
I honestly, I don't think it's that bad to keep things from an ex.
Yeah.
It depends on what they are.
Yeah, I get you. Knowing he never cared for her, I put these items on my mother-in-law's counter with a note asking if she could help me donate them to Goodwill. Okay, that's a little...
That's not acceptable.
I don't think you can do that.
No. It's like, she never cared, or he never cared for her.
Yeah, they broke up.
He doesn't need these memories.
Yeah.
What? No. You ask him.
As we were on the interstate for our 12-hour drive for our wedding, my mother-in-law calls John and started screaming at him about me, calling me disrespectful and claiming that I was replacing her. John was livid, yelled back at his mother that she needs to apologize to me immediately. He told her that I was not familiar with the area and he and I were on a tight schedule. He then tells her that if she didn't apologize, she could forget about coming to the wedding, then hangs up. Several hours later into our 12-hour drive, my father-in-law calls me and says that someone has something to say. Mother-in-law then came on the phone and was sobbing her apology.
Wait, that's so funny. He's like, someone has something to say to you.
Right.
And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. He's like, don't apologize. Say you're sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
No. She's like, sorry. Is this a 5-year-old?
No, it sounds like it. I accepted her apology and explained to her about how I only asked for help as I wasn't familiar with the area. She stated that she regretted her response to some simple questions for help. Side note, I had an amazing relationship with my mother-in-law during my marriage. She became the support I needed and never received from my actual mother.
Plot twist.
Dang, that's great. But
Yeah.
I just don't understand why asking for some questions, like, for help is
where
like,
the goodwill is.
It's like, you're replacing me. She's
She asked me where the goodwill was.
Right.
You used to do that.
That's crazy. Now for the family controversy.
Oh, Lord.
During my engagement, my family took my brother's girlfriend to Tennessee. While they were up there, my grandmother and aunt had this wonderful epiphany that John and I were getting married so quickly was because I was pregnant. Whoa. To which I was woken up to a phone call from my frantic mother who had her phone on speaker. Are you and John getting married because you're pregnant? My half-awake response was, what? Groaning, I explained to my mother that I was indeed not pregnant and told her that I was actually on my period, which apparently pleased my mother as I heard yelling at my aunt and grandmother before I hung up the phone. Dang.
Man, oh man, this is not a good lead up.
It really
Not
not.
a good lead up.
There's like so few positives.
Yeah,
And
bummer.
that's just not how you want your wedding day to go.
No.
Now for the day of the wedding. Our wedding was very non-traditional. John helped me as I got ready, meaning he helped me curl my hair and tie the back of my dress. We even drove to the chapel together in our truck. While getting ready, I was trying to finish my makeup while John and I were trying to figure out where to stop on during our 12-hour drive back to our new home. Sally came into the tiny bathroom and proceeded to tell John to get out as she and I needed to have a girl talk. John tried to explain to her that he and I were in the middle of a conversation, which was the wrong thing to say to her. Sally proceeded to physically push him and demanded him to leave. John raised his hands and tried to get away from her. It got to the point that John had to carefully grab her shoulders so that he could get around her and escape from her violent pushing and screaming. I was very uncomfortable and told her that she crossed a line.
She's crossed like every line.
Yeah, she's going a little crazy.
Yeah, if he's like, you crossed a line, but I put like 6 lines down. You've crossed all of them.
Every single one. As this was our wedding and we were in the middle of a conversation, she started crying and begging me to stay with her so that we could catch up. Like, this is not the time or place to do that, girl. I don't remember what my response was, but I do remember grabbing my makeup bag and my dress off the door. I grabbed John's arm and dragged him into my parents' bedroom, where I locked the door and proceeded to finish getting ready while John quietly petted the family's cat. And now the reception. The wedding was short and sweet, which was what we wanted. The reception, my mother cooked for about 50 guests. During the reception, I changed into a blue sundress as it was hot outside. We all were served an amazing meal. We had a photo booth set up and games, potluck family dinner style. During the meal, I sat with my new in-laws, finally meeting John's extended family. Afterwards, we cut the cake and had photos taken with everyone and the family. However, John and I noticed one person refused to participate and would make a sob story about how I was ignoring her. Sally, once again, tried to be the center of attention.
Sally.
How did we know it was Sally? How did we know? Our breaking point was when we heard she was telling my family that John hit her in the house. Oh my gosh.
Oh, when he was he, because he held her shoulders or something?
Yeah. Dude. Girl. Livid, John and I didn't say anything and got into our truck and left. We stopped by my parents' house where I left their key and took my dog. Years later, it was brought to my attention Sally tried to get John fired from his job by bringing up the assault.
Oh my God.
Tired of her lies, I responded to her with screenshots and a public post on Facebook for all to see, tagging her and explaining in detail how she assaulted John. That the only thing John did was hold her away from him so he could escape her. Our friendship is officially over and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't need Sally in your life.
You do
She's
not.
trying to ruin. I mean, hopefully, like, it's been over for a while because she's
right.
It seems like she's actively trying to ruin your life.
But you know what could always make us happier is if you listen to stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever your podcasts are, and you'll find more stories just like this one.
Just search up OK Storytime.
OK Storytime. Boom. There is more to this story, but what do we think, man?
Oh man, it's just a bad omen. Sometimes you're hit with about 10 bad omens, and you're like, you know what? Just gonna call it off.
Yeah, maybe it's not meant to be. But you know, I mean, at least they're in a mutual spot now. I don't know what the reason was for why they eventually ended their marriage. She said that's another story. Please send that in so we can read that one.
And then we can compare and be like, oh,
Exactly.
this is unrelated, or oh, wow.
Exactly.
Your wedding was the beginning of the end.
But there is still more.
Woo.
So let's get on into it. My parents came out saying that they never liked Sally as she always had me doing things for her. In the end, yeah, I no longer have a marriage, but John and I are still friends. We learned over the years that we got married too soon and we were vastly different people. Today, I have a house full of rescue dogs and I'm working on writing my first book. Oh, wow. As for Sally, well, from what I can tell, she likes to brag about her child-free life on social media, or not quotes, hashtag child-free life on social media, and aspires to be like my influencer mom. I wish I was joking about the hashtag. But that is the end of that story.
Yeah.
Seems like, yeah, crazy wedding. It is fair to say that you're a little young to get married. That, you know, I know a lot of people are very successful when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it also...
just adds more obstacles.
Exactly.
Of course, you can get past them,
right.
but there are a lot of them.
Right.
But yeah, you know, you're still friends with your ex. So
that's great.
Something. That's good.
Leaves on an okay note, I guess. But that is the end of the story. So let's get on into the next one.